Hi, hello everyone. Thank you very much for inviting me. And today I will speak about web performance monitoring. And yeah, my name is Eugenia, and I am currently in Berlin. I work there as a web developer at Gorillas, which is a groceries delivery startup. It's based in Berlin, but it's also in the UK, so you might have seen it. I was in past actively involved in community events, as I was a Google developer group organizer, but now I'm trying myself in public speaking, and I'm happy to contribute to the community in that way. So web performance. So you can see here, this is a castle. Imagine it is a website, and we just started to build it. It's very simple, clean, and elegant, and it's performing quite well, at least from the very beginning. But as soon as our business is developing, we start to receive different requirements, like we need to improve our customer support. So let's add a chat widget, or we have problems like with GDPR compliance, and we need a cookie banner, but we want to save time on development, so we are going to use a third-party service for it, and many other things like fancy fonts, different integrations, and so on. And in the result, our castle looks like this. The castle from the Miyazaki movie, which I like very much, but it's like it's moving very slowly, and like it's going to break very soon. You never know when. Yeah, I guess there are like lots of developers who can relate to this situation. This is happening not because we need like additional features to be added or third-party services. It is happening because we build something and we do not track what is the impact on web performance. But first, let's speak about why it is important. And there are many examples of different companies which improved their business metrics when they improved their web performance. For example, it could be increase in sign-up rates, in sales, in page views. And one more important aspect is that web performance has effect on Google search engine ranking. I think from the beginning of this summer, now this Google search is considering web performance score among other factors, of course, but it means that if your website is performing well, then there is a bigger likelihood it will be in the top results. And before we speak about, monitoring, like which metrics should we track, I would like to ask you. So you can see here, you can join with QR code, or you can use this slido.com link with this number. So my question to you is, what performance metrics would you monitor? Here is an example I added, which is time to interactive. But I'm curious to know, like, which maybe you're already monitoring, or you think you should. And yeah, please join me in this. I was hesitating adding this slide or not, because I'm always afraid that nobody will respond, but you are. That's great. Okay, I'm going to the next slide. User journey, that's interesting. So yeah, there are lots of different metrics, and here you can see the strip of a page loading screenshots of a web application on a mobile device. And I have marked at each screenshot, I have marked which metric was captured. I was using a web page test to do this. And there are different timing events that are triggered during the loading, and some are purely technical, like time to start rendering or time to download it. But some of them are more oriented to real user experience, like first Contentful Paint or time to interactive. As our main goal is to focus on the user, because this is why we build anything on the web, user-oriented metrics are the best. And by the way, this is not the whole list of what you can track in this timing events. So to keep it simple, not overwhelming, we can use just 3 metrics. It's largest Contentful Paint and first input delay, and sometimes you will meet it as a total blocking time. And additionally, we can check another user experience aspect called cumulative layout shift that informs us about visual web page layout stability. And why exactly these metrics? So they were introduced by Google, and they call them core web vitals. And these core web vitals are included in search ranking. Also, I have noticed that majority of performance development or monitoring tools are already relying on these metrics, Lighthouse, web page test, and such monitoring services like New Relic or Datadog. But let's dive a bit into details of what these metrics mean. Largest Contentful Paint indicates how fast the content is loaded, but not just the content. It is the largest content on the page. For example, it could be an image or paragraph or a large title. And here we need to ensure that the largest Contentful Paint is below 2.5 seconds. And to give you an example, for instance, on this page, the largest Contentful Paint element is this big video. And you can understand what is the largest Contentful Paint for your page by using performance tab in browser DevTools. So when you record this performance profile, you can see the timing events. And when you hover the largest Contentful Paint, then it will show you which element corresponds to this particular timing. First input delay indicates how fast the page becomes interactive, and it's basically an interval between first user interaction and browser response. And the lower this number is, the better. So, for example, on this page, the first input delay would be captured when the page is loaded and I click on the menu button, and the time that it took for a menu to be opened will be this first input delay. And cumulative layout shift, the metric which is not connected with timing, but it's not directly connected with it. However, it shows the loading process from the visual point of view. It shows how often the user will see unexpected layout shift during the page loading. And here is an example. This is my website, and the cumulative layout shift for it was quite bad, almost like very bad, I think. Here you can see that the images are loaded first, and then the text content arrives. And this is what is called this layout shift. And that was happening because I was storing the text content on the CMS and was dynamically requesting it. And the cumulative layout shift for such a page was 0.7, the score. However, the best practice is below 0.1. So as I already mentioned, there are plenty of different metrics, but to make it simple for yourself and for others, we can focus just on a few of them, in particular Web Vitals. And so we know which metrics we would like to collect, and now it's time to think about how we're going to collect it. There are many variants you can do. You can collect real user data, synthetic data, or lab data. And of course, the most effective one is real user data, because it gives you understanding on how your website is performing in the real world, taking into account user network connection and devices they use. But if there is no such a possibility, you can use synthetic data, where you simulate locations, network connection, devices. And on your local machine, you can choose to get lab data. So, but it will be true just on your machine. So when collecting real user data, doing real user monitoring, check which monitoring services your company is already using, because, for example, in my case, in my previous company, we were using New Relic, and it turned out that exactly at that time, which was around 1 year ago, they introduced Web Vitals monitoring as the default monitoring in their application. And so I didn't need to do anything in order to collect this data. I just needed to analyze it and maybe create some additional custom dashboards for it. So before trying to collect data yourself, check maybe the monitoring tool you're already using provides it. For example, in my current company, we use Datadog and Sentry, and both of them are tracking Web Vitals under the hood. One more possibility you can use is a Chrome User Experience Report visualized in Data Studio. And here is the link to the tutorial where you can set it up. And I'll share the link to the slides at the end of the presentation, so you can find it. So this data is data from Chrome User Experience Report is publicly available. So you can create dashboard for any website you want. But the disadvantage is that data is updated only once per month. And you also cannot track like different pages of your website. You can see only the main page. And one more tool for real user data is, of course, Google Analytics. The main advantage of using it is that you can correlate your page loading times with such data like bounce rate or conversion rate. So you can see how web performance influences your business metrics. And by default, Google Analytics doesn't provide user-oriented metrics like core Web Vitals. It provides you page loading time. But page loading time doesn't really represent the user experience, because here is an example of the real website. You see where is the load event end, which is this page, how is it called? Wait, the page load time, yes. So this is this page load time is here. And it is way early than a user sees any content on the page. And one more good thing about Google Analytics is that you can see the page load time distribution. For example, here on this image, you can see for how many users the page is loading within 1 second and 3 seconds. And so, of course, Google Analytics doesn't provide you Web Vitals under the hood, but you can send any custom events to Google Analytics. And there is a Web Vitals library, which is JavaScript library, which provides you with methods that captures this cumulative layout shift, first input delay, and largest contentful paint. And you can just like get this data and send to the monitoring tool of your choice. And one more thing I would like to pay your attention on is also connected with Google Analytics, because in Google Analytics, you will see this page load time as an average. But average is not really a good metric, because here, for instance, you can see the largest contentful paint data for the same website, the same period of time, and the same device. And you see how the numbers are, how they differ, despite they reflect the same situation. And average is not a good measurement of the tendency, because even a single user with extremely slow device can push the number up, but we will think like maybe it's experience of the majority of our users. However, it is not. A little bit better metric is median, which shows us for how fast is the page for 50% of our users. However, if we provide a good page load time for just half of our users, it isn't really a good result. That is why it is recommended to use percentiles. And for example, here, 75 percentile means that for 75% of our users, the page is loading within 6.2 seconds. And so here is already an example for the synthetic test, synthetic monitoring. If you don't have opportunity to collect this real user data, such tools like New Relic, for example, they provide you to do automated synthetic tests. But if you don't have such a possibility, you always can use web page test, which is here on the example, and it provides you lots of different locations and network connections and browsers, devices, so you can simulate different user experiences. And especially during the development, it's very nice to use such tools like Lighthouse to collect this lab data. And it is not just showing you this important web performance metrics, but also provides you with a list of what is not good and how to improve it. Yeah, and it's I guess it's cool. It's very well known tool, and it's available in Chrome DevTools like by default. And that's it. Do you have any questions? So, and here you can find the slides, but they will differ a little bit from what I have shown you, because here it's more extended version of my previous talk.